Northeastern Poland's largest city is Bialystok, with a population of 300,000. Jewish people first came here in the early 1600s.
Those days, there were no trade, no small business without Jewish community. So the owners of the little towns, they were inviting this kind of community because they needed them and they also paid taxes. So when they came here, they started to buy and sell things, and they also ran breweries and shops.
According to Anna Krusznitska, a history teacher and tour guide in Bialystok, about 50,000 Jewish people lived here leading up to World War II.
So when Nazis came here, they knew that this is a very important Jewish city. At the very, very beginning, 27th of June, 1941.
Behind me is a memorial to the Great Synagogue in Bialystok. In 1941, the Nazis marched in and burned it to the ground with 800 people inside. The same day, they killed 1,200 more on the streets.
And it was just the beginning. Then they gutted the whole Jewish community in the ghetto. They were using them as slaves. They were working, hard working. It was the time that those people were starving there. But still, they had a hope to survive.
Despite an uprising 2 years later, Nazis took almost the entire community to Treblinka and murdered them there. After the war, about 300 Jews returned to Bialystok and tried to live here.
What happened in Poland in 1968? Communists said that all the Jewish people should go to Israel. So the last 120 people, something like this, just left Bialystok.
Today, about 20 Jews live in Bialystok, with none having Jewish family roots in the city. There is a redemptive move, however. Anna says people in her town want to make sure the Jewish history is not forgotten.
We have a special trail. We are not anti-Semites. We really want to show that we remember, and the Jewish part of the history of Bialystok is as important as other parts.
Nearly 200 miles away in Lublin, the Jewish community started at about the same time in the 16th century.
When Jewish people came here, mostly as refugees from Western and Eastern Europe, they settled surrounding around the castle, King's Castle of Lublin, and, well, they lived there peacefully for hundreds of years.
Historian and tour guide Zemavit Karlovich tells CBN News many prominent rabbis came from this vibrantly rich society.
The Jewish community of Lublin, just before the Second World War, was like 43,000, 1/3 of the population of our town. And this, again, was very, let's say, diverse community. There were many political parties, there were many views on the life and on the religion and on politics.
When the Germans arrived, though, they turned the Jewish district into a ghetto.
They surrounded it by barbed wire. And Jewish people that were trapped inside there, they were thinking that they can survive the war. Nothing bad can happen to them. Well, after war, it all finished. But this never came, this end of war, at least for them.
The building on my right was a Jewish orphanage and elderly home. When the Nazis exterminated the Lublin ghetto in 1942, they murdered the 200 children, the elderly, and the child caregivers who refused to abandon the children.
The SS forces came and they started to throw away people from their houses, driving them to a square near the synagogue. And Jewish people were not resisting because, well, that never happened before. This was the very first ghetto in the world that was destroyed during Aktion Reinhardt, or the Holocaust, the German code name for them.
Almost all Lublin's Jews died in the Belgic concentration camp.
We know about 1,000 survived of them. But right now, Jewish community of Lublin is like 50, 70 people, and none of them is speaking Yiddish, the language that was so prominent in Jewish district before the war.
Now the Polish people in Lublin are telling many of those stories to the international community through the Grodzka Gate Theater cultural institution.
My grandfather once said that if we will let the memory of these people die, it will be like the Nazis have won. No. We cannot do this. I'm a historian. My job is to remember things and remember people. And you see, this is the history of our town. Lublin doesn't really exist without the memory of the Jewish people who are here. This is part of our history. We cannot forget it.
Growing up under communist rule, Karlovich says he didn't learn about the Jewish history until high school. Now he and others hope to change that, including the Jewish story as part of Lublin's history that's taught in elementary school. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Bialystok and Lublin, Poland.